Hello everybody, welcome back to Read and Reread. I am Angelia, and today it's time for Friday Reads on January 17th. Yes, we are past the midpoint of the month, and what a month it is. It's been a good reading month. It's kind of tumultuous in other regards, but the month it's monthing, it's going. So we're going to talk today about the books I've been reading, some shows we've been watching, and then there may be a video gap after today. My mother has been ill, but she is getting better. My mother has dementia. We have a planned move to memory care for her, but then she got sick and we weren't sure what plans were going to work or not work or what we're going to do. But anyway, I'm not going to get into the whole story, but she is doing better. And so there's probably going to be a gap in videos for maybe a week while I attend to these family matters and make sure she is comfortably situated and that my stepfather is okay, because this is a very big turning point in his life as well. And so there might be a gap. I'll put a community post. There will be a gap. I'll put a community post up somewhere in the week. I'll do a little check-in or something. And actually, let's start with TV shows. We did finish watching season 1 of Yellowjackets, a crazy show, totally wrapped up in it. And then we found out season 2 isn't even on Netflix yet, so now we're stranded. So then we started a new show, The Pitt, which is on Max, which is a hospital show that does have Noah Wyle. I guess there was a whole lawsuit by the Michael Crichton estate because they own the rights to ER, and he was on ER, and then now he was doing a new hospital show. But I don't think there's any relation. It's just he happens to be on a new show about an emergency room. It's set in Pittsburgh, I guess. It's the way the layout is that there's every episode is an hour in this emergency room. So there's going to be 15 episodes that are 15 hours. It starts at 7 in the morning. So it's unfolding hour by hour, and he's sort of the chief of the ER. And so it's interesting, as I watched ER back in the day for years. I didn't watch the last couple seasons of it, but I saw it from when he was the young new student doctor, and now he's the chief and there's young student doctors. But anyway, it's pretty good. But because it's on Max, it's a lot gorier than hospital shows on network channels. So I'm watching it with a throw blanket, and every time something really gross happens, I'm hiding. But so far, it's good. The characters are unfolding in an interesting way. We've also been watching a Swedish show called Breakthrough. I think there's only 4 episodes, and we've watched 2. And it's based on a true story. I think it's based on a nonfiction. I don't know if it's a true crime book or just a nonfiction book about a case in Sweden, a murder case that was very difficult to solve, and then eventually they applied genealogy, kind of the 23andMe type research to the case. So it's been good. It's pretty depressing. We keep watching these kind of dark, heavy shows, and we don't say, let's scan and find another dark, malevolent, heavy, or depressing show to watch, but somehow it all just kind of happens. So what have I been reading? A number of books I finished this week, and a lot of them I returned to the library, but I will insert some pictures. So I first finished Beautyland by, who is this author? Marie-Helene Bertino. I think that's correct. If not, it'll be on the screen. And that was a buddy read that I did with Alan from Big Hard Books and Classics. And he's done a whole separate little video where he talked about the book that I will put in the link. But Beautyland was really interesting. It was really different. It's a book that was released last year, and I think the author has a couple of previous books that I haven't read. This was the first book I read by this author, and the premise here is there's a girl. She's growing up in the 80s and 90s. Her name is Adina, and she's born to a single mother. Well, I don't guess she's not single at first, but the dad kind of cuts out. She's raised by a single mother, and Adina believes that she is an alien and that she is on Earth to observe and transmit information about human life back to headquarters. And she does this on an old fax machine that her mom rescued out of the garbage. And from early childhood, as soon as she can write, she sends faxes and she gets replies. So part of the premise here in this book is that there's an ambiguity about who Adina really is, whether she is an alien or not. and there's a certain unresolved aspect of that that you get to consider as a reader. And so Adina, she grows up. It covers her from early childhood till when she's in her 40s. And Adina is a socially awkward person. She's really bright. She's really gifted and talented, but she struggles with friendships, communication, maintaining contacts. She often feels she sometimes feels isolated, but then at other times she craves her aloneness and she's not comfortable with too much togetherness and interaction with other people. So she's an unusual person, and I really liked Adina. Now, sometimes I got really involved in her character. Alan said he thought it was a plot-driven novel, and that's an interesting thing. Is to me, it was a character novel, and it was really all about Adina. So I thought that was interesting. But we both really, really liked this book, and we both kind of had the same conclusion about what we thought about Adina. I'm not even going to tell you. I think you should read it and see what you think. I really enjoyed it. It was different. She did frustrate me at times, but I thought it was well done, because I got so involved in her that when she went through stretches of time where I wish she would do something else, I was very engaged in that, and just kind of hanging with her up to the end of the book. I did not like the ending. This was also a great part of our discussion, because I did not like how it concluded. And Alan didn't feel strongly about that as I did. But I had a problem with the ending. And my daughter Emma also read this book the week before I read it. And she and I had the same feeling about the ending. All three of us had the same feeling about Adina's identity. And you can guess what we think, but maybe you should read the book. The next book I finished was Lost Children Archive by Valeria Luiselli. And I also returned that to the library, but there's a picture. And this was a book that I read with a group, Books and Bocadillas, hosted by Mariandrea. She has a channel. I will link it here, and you can join the Discord if you would like to participate, because there will be a different book every month this year by Latinx authors. So this is an author I hadn't read before, a book that's been on my TBR for some time, and I'm really glad I finally had a chance to read it and discuss it with a group. I'm not going to say too much about it, because the discussion is still open for the rest of the month. I will say that I was very involved in this book for 3/4 of the book, and I had some problems with the final portion. And I've talked about those problems in the group. I'm not going to talk about them here, because not everybody's read the whole book yet. So it's not the kind of thing where I'd say, oh, don't read this book because of the end. It's just stylistic choices that didn't work for me so well with the ending of this book. And so I'm just going to leave it there. And then another book that I finished, well, this isn't a book, it's a play. And it's in my group, Endless Drama. And I did finish reading R.U.R, Rossum's Universal Robots by Karel Capek. And this was a Czech playwright who wrote this play in the 1920s. And again, the discussion has just kind of begun, because it's a mid to end of the month discussion. So I'm not going to discuss it, but I did finish reading it. It's the earliest known use of the word robot, and it is a play about the manufacture. Somebody has figured out how to manufacture robots that, basically androids. They resemble human beings, and they can do the labor of humans without the baggage of human needs. And there are lots of interesting moral and ethical questions, and the plot is quite interesting. So we will talk more about that as the month continues. And then just last night, I finished reading Taiwan Travelog by Shuang-Zi and translated by Lynn King. And this was a buddy read with my friend Michael Clark. And we haven't quite finished discussing it. He posted some thoughts on the Discord this morning, but I wanted to film my video real quick, so I'm going to go back and read that more thoroughly and respond. This is a book that is kind of like a nesting doll of stories within stories. It's the whole thing is a fiction, but there is a woman in the 1930s, a Japanese woman from the mainland, who goes to Taiwan, and she's a young woman in her mid-20s who has already written a novel that was a big hit and was made to a movie. And so she gets an opportunity to tour Taiwan on an all expense paid trip, and she wants to tour in a culinary manner. She is an infamous, she calls herself a glutton, but she has a voracious appetite. She says she has a monster inside her, and this woman really can put it away. And so she goes on this kind of gastronomic tour, and it's also a cultural tour. She wants to find out about the islander cuisine and how it differs from Japanese cuisine. She's kind of naive about a lot of the politics and strife and turmoil involving the colonialism that has taken place. And she thinks that she is she thinks that she is progressive. She thinks that she is not racist. She thinks that she is someone who will truly appreciate the indigenous culture, but she's kind of naive. And she is assigned a translator, a young woman who is an islander, who gradually becomes more and more intriguing to her. A young woman with many skills and talents, really intelligent young woman, but who is so closely guarded and impeccably polite at all times. And as they spend a year together traveling and savoring different cuisine, she really wants to make the friendship of this woman. She really strives to make a closer connection with this young woman. And that's where I really should stop my description so that I don't spoil any of the subtlety of this book about this relationship and its growth and what our narrator learns throughout this year. So that's the book. That's the original book. And then it's about how there's these layers where the book has been translated more than once in the ensuing years. And we have kind of this metafiction layer where our actual author and translator have afterwards about their work with the manuscripts that aren't real because the whole thing is a fiction. So that's kind of an interesting conceit that's layered into the project. I think both of us really enjoyed this book. All of the food, it is like the foodiest book I've ever read. All the food description is very detailed and very sensual, but overall it's a pretty subtle book as far as character development. And ultimately, I didn't have a deep connection. I feel like I still didn't know these characters as well as I would like to. It was a well crafted and beautifully written book. I didn't 100% make that connection where it just kind of sits in my soul and I can say that I really love it, but it was very good, and I understand why it won the prize for translated fiction, the National Book Award. So I am still currently reading I Feel Bad About My Neck by Nora Ephron, which I can make all kinds of connections to. This book is just a sheer delight. It's so funny. Even the parts that are a little out of date, I can still relate to because I was there during those times as well. Or some of them are just historically interesting, like when she tells a story about when she was an intern in the JFK White House, and she's just always funny, always smart. It's a pleasure. And I have a few essays left. And I also am reading For All the Tea in China by Sarah Rose, which is the story of how England stole intellectual property from China, stole their knowledge of tea cultivation and their finest seeds by sending a Scottish guy disguised as a Mandarin Chinese person. This is kind of crazy. I don't really know how he passed. They actually sewed a braid into his hair and gave him an outfit, but they described him as being a foot taller than all of the other Chinese men that he circulated with. Visually, I kept picturing old movies where a white person has like a wig and makeup and now they're supposed to look Asian, but I don't know. I've only read about a quarter of this, so I don't know if he's ever challenged, but right now I am really having trouble understanding how this worked. But that's what's happening. So what is up next? My friend Michael and I have a new buddy read starting, and it is Because of Winn-Dixie by Kate DiCamillo. This is a reread for both of us. It's the beginning of a project of reading the works of Kate DiCamillo. We are both former children's librarians, and we love to revisit middle grade and young adult authors that we loved in the past, and then also sometimes exploring new books. So we are going to be reading the books of Kate DiCamillo in publication order, beginning with Because of Winn-Dixie, which is a book that I love. And this will be a great book for me to take along on my travels, that is just sort of a revisit of a book that I have loved in the past, kind of a comfort read. And then I'm going to take something else. I have my iPad. I do have Antony and Cleopatra on my iPad, which is the next play to read for the Bard Room. But I also have a couple of other books. I'm just going to have to go with the last minute mood. I was thinking about these short stories by Daniel Mason, but it's a hardcover, so I don't know. I kind of like taking paperbacks on a trip, and so maybe I've got Caledonia by Elspeth Barker, which looks kind of, I don't know if it's a little dark for the occasion, but it looks good. I don't know if it's more of the dark or more of the dark humor. And then I also have The Wall by Marlen Haushofer, and I think this is translated by Shaun Whiteside. And I kind of forgot about this on my cart, and then I was watching Kim from Middle of the Book March do her favorite books from last year, and this is in her video, and I went, oh wait, I have this book. Maybe this would be a good one to take with me. So it's going to be a last minute judgment call there, but if you have an opinion, you can certainly chime in and try to influence me. So that is it. That's what's going on. I hope that you have a great weekend and a week ahead, and let me know what wonderful things you are reading or have planned, and take care. I will talk to you soon.